In many ways, Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber has the same present-day baggage as Bruce Willis as John McClane. We know him now from so much other stuff, like that guy who ruins his marriage in Love Actually, or as Severus Snape in the Harry Potter series and its lesser-known prequel, Prince of Thieves. But getting back to 1988, Die Hard was literally Rickman's first film appearance, and he was green. Casting director Jackie Birch recalls in Die Hard and Oral History, he didn't even know how to hold a gun. His wrist was limp, and I said, try to make that tighter so they think you're tough. Rickman winced at gunshots so frequently that John McTiernan had to start leaving his head out of frame. Nonetheless, McTiernan gives Hans a fantastic intro. It's just after the film's first murder, first two, actually, and while we're prepped for them, they're still jarring. To balance the cruelty with an appealing panache, we get a crisp, high-efficiency rollout of the film's other various baddies, weaving past each other, mirroring Theo's Lakers play-by-play in the previous scene, before settling on Hans, the crew's very own Armani-clad Pat Riley, all over the discordant thrum of a minor key ode to joy. He may be the film's bad guy, but he is also definitely badass. Crisp, cool, coordinated. You almost want to root for him. This is the result of a very conscious effort on McTiernan's part, but more on that later. As Hans raids the Christmas party, he gets his first lines, not screaming over the barrel of a machine gun, but calmly raising his hand for silence and reading from the gospel of corporate accountability from his post-modern pulpit.
Due to the Nakatomi Corporation's legacy of greed around the globe, they are about to be taught a lesson in the real use of power. You will be witnesses.
So many of this era's antagonists had to be bad through one-dimensionality. After all, you can't give your Reaganite Crusaders opponents who might be, like, complex and relatable, because if you can question John Matrix's assault rifle, what other policies might you start taking issue with? Bad guys were robots, or as close to it as you can get. Aliens, non-Europeans, period piece Nazis, and masks, masks, masks. Anything to keep the not particularly woke audiences of the era from seeing the bad guys as normal people. Gruber fits none of these molds. Yes, he's heartlessly violent, but also restrained, clever, and intelligent. His meticulous multi-part plan caters to an expectation of villainous grandiosity, and he plays it out brilliantly, all while slow-walking his true, almost disappointingly basic objective beneath the theatrical veil. Gruber bends the authorities to his will and almost certainly would have succeeded if not for one small problem.
Just a fly in the ointment, Hans. The monkey in the wrench.
Going back to Tom Bryhan, he preens and snarls and whispers threats with real delight. Gruber, like McClane, seems like he could be a real human being. In his overly well-trimmed beard and his expensively tailored suit, he looks almost fussy. This obsessive precision paradoxically draws another McClane parallel: real vulnerability. When touring the Nakatomi models, McTiernan gives Gruber a line from Plutarch for no other reason than to highlight Hans' pathological need to be seen as educated and intellectual.
And when Alexander saw the breadth of his domain, he wept, for there were no more worlds to conquer.
And for all of John's meddling, the only time Gruber really loses composure is when he takes issue with Holly not respecting the brilliance of his thievery.
I am an exceptional thief.
In fact, there might be something to the contrasting ways in which Hans and McClane's parallels are presented, but that's a story for later. I'm Cosmo Catalano. Until next time, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law.